day, everybody, and welcome to Camel City Chat. I'm Jon McPherson, and I am here with the man that knows everything about all kinds of flowers and, what was it, you told me like 135 acres. I'm here with Jon Roethling. Jon is I got it here now, Jon. You know, I got to write it down here. So you are the director of Reynolda Gardens.
Correct.
And so we are in the education building. And before we get started, they tell me I always have to do this. I have to say like, subscribe, find us on YouTube, and please support the channel. And we, of course, welcome you to Camel City Chat. We're here every hump day with a new episode. So thanks for being here, buddy.
Oh, I'm
or
delighted
actually,
to be
thanks
here.
for having me here because we're at your house.
Oh, yeah. My rules.
So, yeah, your rules. But I still get the first three questions.
Okay.
Nice try.
I'll see
nice
that.
Try. Yeah, so where we are right now is if you've ever come into Reynolda Gardens, of course, there's your shop on the right, and then most people know that where the restrooms are, down at the end there, that you kind of have that little greenhouse thing where you go on. The greenhouse is on the right, and then what are the things on? It's another greenhouse, but is that a specific type of greenhouse? The folding, the one on the ground.
They're actually cold frames.
Cold frames. So there's a cold frame on the left. I built one of those with little windows one time.
Yeah.
So you go down past the cold frames, and then this is the education building, and you guys have programs in here.
Correct.
All right, so that's the gardens behind us. Now let's ask the three questions. All right, so where are you from, and how long have you been here?
I was born in New York and stayed there for my first 13 months.
Right.
But then we moved down to Greensboro.
I told you not to mention Greensboro.
I'm
Keep
sorry.
on going.
I'm
It's okay.
sorry.
We will forgive him. He's been in Winston-Salem long enough, I think, now.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Triad boy.
Yeah, we all are Triad boys. Don't worry.
We moved to the area in 2008.
Okay.
And really came on board here in Winston and with Reynolda December 1st of last year. This past December 1st actually marked a full year here.
How you like it?
I love it.
Good. We're going to get to that. Second question. Where is your favorite restaurant to eat in this area?
When we come over here, it's, we kind of say in a small group, we're trying to branch out, but we love 4th Street Filling Station.
All right.
Love Mazelle's.
All right.
My staff is broadening my horizons, so they got me to Burke Street Pizza. So,
okay. Have you gone and got the dumplings down here?
Yeah, and that, you overlook the obvious, but
Right.
yeah, Mayway is just fantastic, like for my lunch every time when I forget lunch.
Right.
Dojo's is, of course, an indulgence that, when I have to make
Right.
nice with the staff and
Right.
get them happy and fired up. Village Tavern. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great having these amenities.
Gosh,
right
if you
around
could
us.
just walk there.
Yeah, I know. Well, it helps because I joke that, as I've moved up in my career, I've also moved out. So,
Well, and the one thing, though, is you probably don't want your wife to come visit you at work because Monkeys is across the street.
it's more about spending money on plants for us
Okay,
because
good.
we're in the same field, so
Yep.
same passions.
Yep.
So
But I'm telling you, I love every one of the shops in here. It's just a great place. I mean, it just seems to be that such a well thought out retail plan that was once something completely different. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, and we'll touch more on that. And of course, the third question is, what's your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing to do is just spending time with our dogs and working with. We actually work with a rescue,
Okay.
Blue Ridge Boxer Rescue. So
Okay.
that's aside from doing everything with plants and gardening, we spend the remainder of time playing with our dogs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're so glad you had us here, and now let's peel back the onion on this. So we are sitting in Reynolda Gardens, and this is not really Reynolda Gardens. We're actually sitting in a specific garden, and it's called the Formal Garden, right?
Correct.
All right. So explain to us why we're not really in Reynolda Gardens in a sense, because it's bigger.
It's much bigger, and I think that's a misconception I even held when we first came here, because when people say Reynolda Gardens, it's often associated with the 4 acres of the Formal Gardens,
Right.
Which is the greenhouse. We've got almost 5,000 square feet of greenhouse space, which does include this education space.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got the Formal Gardens, which part of it is historic rose garden, the color theme gardens, which is the blue and yellow garden, the pink and white garden, and then the other half is what was called the fruit, cut flower, and nicer vegetable garden.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is the 4 acres of the Formal Gardens. But Yeah, one of the things that I think is just amazing is that's 4 acres out of 135 acres. So there's so much more to Reynolda Gardens. There's almost 2 miles of walking trails. There's a meadow. There's a wetland. There's wildflower gardens. It's just, it's kind of like anything you could want is here.
We love coming over here. It's I will say that I can see a sign there that says Reynolda Gardens, so that may be part of our misconception, right? But I mean, this is the formal garden, and I've been here for headshots. I've been here for a wedding. I've been here for just to walk around with my family. Of course, as we look out, I see some guy running down the hill from the house. But I mean, is this what Catherine wanted? Is this right here?
Yes, she wanted it to be part of the community. I think one of the really interesting things that sets this apart from other estate gardens is when you think of most estate gardens, they're behind the house.
Right.
They're tucked away.
Right.
Whereas this one was put right out on Reynolda Road.
Right.
And it was to be be there for the community.
Right.
When you look at what she did with the village, with having the barn, which was to educate the public about the most recent research on things, whether it's the dairy or different horticultural methods. It was important that it was out there for the community.
So you mentioned the 135 acres. So what I want to do is ask this question and then go to how you got here. So the question is if you were to break it down, we have the 4 acres here, and then we've got the driveway along coming in on the estate. Now, are you involved with the grass as well out there? Is that part of you, or is that more the estate?
It's except for about 19 acres around Reynolda House.
Right.
We take care of all of the rest.
All right, so we've got the pathway coming in, that's the daffodils, and that's you all.
That's us.
Then we've got this 4 acres, and then you were saying something about we go over towards Coliseum. What do we...
So the property actually extends all the way up to Coliseum.
Okay.
So that when you're turning off Coliseum onto Reynolda, that's
right in front
all
of the Special Children's School there, and then we got Grayland on the left.
Grayland on the left and Reynolda on the right.
All right. And so then we come all the way down there, and then where do you stop at? The pathway to Wake?
Exactly. We go, there's of course the dam, which is a favorite photograph spot for brides.
Okay.
But that's part of Reynolda Gardens as well, and Lake Catherine.
All right, yeah, so I was going to ask you about Lake Catherine. We
Everyone asks about Lake Catherine.
So Lake Catherine's real interesting. We have a family story that my 5-year-old will tell you about. We were actually walking, and folks, the gardens are a natural place, and you could see anything out there. It's not like I think some people think, oh well, I'm not going to see a snake. Well, we saw a snake, and I know there's always sometimes people have always said they saw this big black snake hanging. And but so. I'm walking along. We're right there near the, I guess, is that the dam that's right behind that building?
Yeah.
Or is that something? Okay, so we're right there near the dam. And I walk by, I'm holding my daughter's hand. She's on the inside close to the wall. And as I walk by, I turn and I look and I saw a snake clock my wife. So I look back and I see it move and I go, Catherine, move. And so she steps back, but of course I was a little bit more dramatic than that, as I tend to be. And so I pulled my daughter back real quick, but it was a snake, and I'm not going to say what kind it was, but it was a snake. And so the story then became, after that, was that I saved my daughter's life because the snake lunged at her. I jumped in front, and I caught it in my mouth and bit the head of it off.
Just like Ozzy.
I mean, you've heard that, right? You heard the story. It happened, yeah.
It's in the archives, I think.
Yeah, but I tell that story because as stupid as that story is, it's funny to us, but it's a memory that's made here. And everyone makes memories here every day. I'm like I told you, I keep looking out here with ADD. There's a man and his wife just walking and talking. So you're the background of so many stories. So tell me about that.
I think that's one of the things that hooked me and made me really, when someone had approached me about coming here, we came out here on a Sunday, and I saw how much of the public was out here enjoying this place. And I think, with my career in public horticulture, our spaces are those memory makers. Whether it's someone, coming out for a bridal shoot, someone having an engagement shoot, proms that happen out here, their photographs. Gardens have a unique way of creating memories, and especially with plants. People can look at a plant and go, my mom grew those, or, it's amazing the memories that get tied with plants and that, really bind you.
So when we were getting ready to do this, we came into the shop there and asked the lady. I didn't ask her name, or we just asking, if you were here. What is her name, by the way?
Ginger.
All right, so Ginger, the way that I wanted to tell you the story is when we came in, there was a gentleman in front of us. He pulls out his iPhone, and she goes, can I help you? And he goes, yeah, what is this? And she knew. I mean, and I know that you probably know that stuff too. I don't know, I don't think you've been here, well, with being in the area, you may know Craig Monty. So we were involved with the Cooperative Extension, Mary Jack Brennan.
Yeah. So
those people, and that we've been involved with. I mean, it's amazing to me. It's like, oh yeah, no, I know that. It's blah 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 blah. So saying that it brings memories of my mom used to grow pawpaws or whatever is one thing, but I really think that's the thing that has been the most amazing to me is that you can come out here and take pictures. Now, there's a hook to coming out here and taking pictures.
Yeah, we do.
You have to get...
You do need to check with us, because if it's a portrait session or a session where you're paying someone to actually take photographs, we do ask that it be scheduled with the gardens and that there is a $50 fee with that, which, of course, goes to support the gardens. But it costs money to create this beautiful place, and, every little bit helps.
So, let's begin. How did you get here? So you went to another school besides Grimsley, because I've got a buddy of mine that's not going to let me say no. But you went to Page,
Yeah.
right? And then you did what 99.9% of the students do, and you go to another school. You go to college, and you don't even have a clue what your major is going to be. So you went to Carolina for a little while?
Yeah.
And then what I would tell you that probably a lot of my friends would say you got educated and switched schools, or
It's been interesting, because I grew up, I always cheered for Carolina.
Yeah. And I got a lot of friends cheer for Carolina. I don't have a pony in that fight.
Well, I going to state, I still remember walking to, because I started at Carolina pre-med and then transferred, realized that was not the life I wanted.
Right.
But I transferred over to NC State, and I remember walking into a bar when Carolina and State were playing in the ACC championship, and I didn't realize I was wearing my Carolina sweatshirt.
Right.
And the bar got really quiet, and I walked quickly out.
So
even
as
though
in the movie, it's like the music stops, the scratch, and
yeah, because growing up, I always cheered, and I think my dad would probably write me out of the will if I changed allegiance.
right. I understand. No, I mean, and we have a lot of. It's funny because I think we're about even on guests that have been on the show that are Carolina and State. So I mean,
I pull for both, but a little bit more blue. But
yeah, I think everyone will say as long as you don't pull for the dark blue, you're okay.
Oh Lord, no.
Yeah. So I mean, that's yeah. So there you go, Carolina fans. He's not a Duke fan. So I want to show the Facebook page real quick, because we've talked about different things, but you can find you guys real easy on Facebook. So we're going to pull that up and show you that, and then we'll come back and finish talking about you here real quick. So Stabler, you got that for us? You got a lot of fans on Facebook there. This is cool. And so I can go there and find out about events and stuff and things like that.
We've got, of course, we've got all of our events on Facebook, and there's a, for the paid events, we actually have a link where you can,
Go
register for them. But it's a busy spring for us. We've got something happening. We have our Tuesday lecture series, which every Tuesday there's something going on.
In this room?
In this room, or we do have 2 trips happening this spring. So one's down to Charlotte to see the Bartlett Research Lab.
Okay.
And they have the largest magnolia collection in the world. So
Okay.
that should be fun on St. Patty's Day. And then we've got a trip going out to the Emily Allen Wildflower Preserve right here in Winston.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's fun.
One of the things you'll learn, and you've watched the show a little bit, is I do have ADD, so I jump around. But I do sometimes run off because we want to, because of the camera, we want to take a break on that. So I want to get back to you. And so you are graduating from State with a horticulture degree, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Big word. And I got it out. I'm proud of myself. Yeah. And so then what's next?
I actually started while I was working on my degree at State, I did some course credit at the Ralston Arboretum.
Okay.
My mentor, Todd Lassane, he was my plant ID professor. He kind of saw something in me and kind of kept pushing me through different doors, whether I was ready for it or not.
Right.
So he was instrumental in getting me on board at the Ralston Arboretum, first as the horticulturalist, then working as a research technician, which was taking care of the front and back of the Ralston Arboretum. You know, just that really fostered a deep love of public horticulture. I was also, at the same time I was working at Tony Avent's Plant Delights Nursery Juniper Level Botanical Garden.
Okay.
Which I worked at New Garden Nursery in Greensboro through high school, and I thought I knew things, and then I went to Tony's, and it was kind of like, I don't know squat.
Right. It is amazing how, somebody will take a stick, cut it, wrap it around, next thing you know, you've got a whole different plant. And I mean, I didn't know that stuff till I started to get involved with some of the people around here.
And working like at Tony's and at the Ralston, which are two of the most amazing collections in the Southeast,
Right.
With just amazing people, it lit a fire in me for a passion for public horticulture. And so, I actually met my wife while I was working at Tony's. So she's in the same field, so we have a shared passion. So, spent time there, had an opportunity to go into the private field, and I worked as a projects manager for a plant breeding agency. So we represented people bringing new plants to market. But while I was doing that, I was working from home. We got an opportunity to come back to this area when my wife started at Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville.
Okay. And is she overseeing her now? Or is she there?
She's in charge of all the horticulture there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
We go there a lot. A lot of realtor events are at Senior.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So I probably bumped into her or something when we've
Yeah.
been there. She's working on something. Okay.
she's always up to something.
Yeah. That's a great place.
It is, and really, had the opportunity. I was at High Point University for 8 years, in charge of the Arboretum and Botanical Garden there. Really got to do a lot of neat things there. But when the call came and Chip Calloway reached out to me and said, Preston Stockton's retiring after 37 years.
Right.
He was kind of brought on board to help find a replacement, and he asked me, he said, is this something you're interested in? And like I said, we came out here the next Sunday, and I was hooked right then.
So, I mean, I would think that this is a very good job for someone in your field. What is the creme de la creme of, what's the number one public place that everyone in your position wants to be at?
In terms of
Like,
actual garden?
Yeah,
or
not like Central Park or something like that, but what is?
Chanticleer up in Pennsylvania
Okay.
is, both my wife and I, it's one of our favorite gardens.
Don't call Chanticleer.
Oh, it's amazing.
Really?
If people always go and it's right near Longwood Gardens,
Right.
Which everyone thinks about Longwood, and both of those are just amazing gardens, but in totally different ways.
Right.
Longwood can amaze you on scale, whereas Chanticleer can amaze you with like little design details that just hook you.
Right. And, we're close to Asheville. Of course, you've got the Biltmore Gardens, which are beautiful as well, too. But, this is a gem. It really is.
It is. I think because it's got so many different facets to it. It's got the history.
Right.
It's got, everything from formal gardens, like we said, to just natural areas. There's just so many things to it. And it's, I think, at an amazing time where right now the gardens and Reynolda House are starting to work together even more so, where we're looking at how art that is often inspired by nature can be reflected in the gardens. So like the Tiffany exhibit that's coming right now, there's parallels on some of the artwork that's
Right.
in that exhibit, and we're going to bring that out into the garden. And
That's
there's
awesome.
even more happening. So it's an amazing time to be at Reynolda.
So when, what is the prized possession in the garden? Is it the rose garden? Is there like some, the Roethling rose or that's nowhere else, or is there things like that people need to know about?
I think if you were to narrow it down to one thing that's just so unique, the greenhouse is, it's a Lord and Burnham greenhouse that was completed in 1913.
Okay.
When you look up Lord and Burnham greenhouses, there aren't many old ones left in the country.
Okay.
And we're one of them.
Okay.
So it's a unique architecture to it. The history of it is amazing, and it's just a beautiful building. And there's nothing else like it.
And see, that's so funny because I'm not at the temple. I'm profane, I guess, the old Masonic term. And it just looked like a greenhouse to me. Now, of course, I have to look it up and see. But I mean, so I can grab this or something, and it's going to open different things. Obviously, we have a different type of roof in this one, but
Yeah. I mean, that does, the fact that it's 100+ years old does present its own challenges.
Right.
I often say that with how progressive Catherine Reynolds was,
Right.
That we're still hand cranking vents to open them is
Right.
a little bit mind-boggling. So
Right.
that's a project that's looming in the near future is a renovation of this space.
Okay. All right. Now, let's break down I think because it's your crown jewel, let's break this down a little bit more. So I come in and you have a shop, and that shop not only sells cute things like coasters, I'd rather be gardening or stuff like that, but you also sell plants too, don't you?
Yeah, and the shop is actually, it's run by the Garden Club Council of Winston-Salem.
Okay.
And they handle all the sales. We have a section that once you go into the greenhouse, there's a plant sales section.
Right.
And all the proceeds of the plant sales actually comes back to the garden.
Because you're growing them out in these hot boxes, right? And
And then we have, most of the stuff in that area is interior plants,
Okay.
orchids, things that wouldn't do well outside.
Right.
But then we do supplement, a couple times a year with plant sales as well,
Okay.
outdoor plant sales.
All right. So you do the outdoor plant sales, you do the speakers, you charge for some things there. Where does your money come from then?
We get
And obviously now you know what my next question is going to be to our friends watching or listening to us, right? Is to get involved.
Yeah,
Right. But
definitely. We get about a third of our support from Wake Forest University because we are, in fact, part of Wake Forest
Correct,
University.
right.
I think it's an amazing asset that Wake Forest has. A lot of their classes actually come out here and
Right.
do their work in the gardens. So we get about a third from Wake. We get about a third of our operating budget from our endowment.
Okay.
And then we raise the rest.
Okay. So now when I join Reynolda House, am I a member of the gardens as well?
No, and that's one of the things that
I did not know that. Interesting. Okay.
I'll shame my parents because I gave them grief because I said, "How are you guys not members of the garden that your son is running?" And they're
Yeah.
like, well, we're members of Reynolda House.
Right. Okay.
And I said, that's not the same thing. And
Okay.
I think, that's some of the low-hanging fruit
Right.
that I look at of going, it's just educating people that we are two different entities.
Right.
And, that I think, just dispelling that, not myth, but, of clarifying that we are two entities that, just because you're with Reynolda House doesn't mean you're with Reynolda Gardens.
Okay.
That is something that we do look at in the future as the house and the gardens come closer and closer together.
Well, it seems that you guys already have a better relationship, or if there was, I don't know if there was any bad relationship, but I mean, you have a better relationship because, as we know, we're here together because Stephen, who's my friend at the Reynolda House, is the one that hooked us up to get together to learn more about the gardens.
Well, and a lot of that goes back to Allison Perkins, who's the director of the house, of having this vision when she came on board at the house of bringing everything back together. We're three entities that have been kind of in our own silos for a long time, and to have this vision to stitch the property back together, because it's more than just visiting the gardens or visiting the house. It's an experience. And by having that vision of bringing everything together, of unifying the message that when you come here, there's so many things to do, whether it's seeing, an amazing art exhibit, whether it's walking the historical house, whether it's seeing a beautiful display in the gardens, and then you wrap up your day with some shopping and eating in the village. It ties it all together, and I think it was a brilliant move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. I'm ashamed that I didn't know that.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah, thanks. No, I don't know if you know this. I got this year. I'm real involved with the Realtors Association. I'm serving as president, and so I said to my wife, I said, we've never been involved in these organizations. I would feel guilty if we didn't support Reynolda House and Old Salem, and so we joined. And so I guess I'm now joining the gardens, is what you're telling me before I leave today.
Yeah.
But What are the levels of membership? Maybe that's going to help me out there. What?
I'll just let you know about one level.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, and mentioning realtors, I mean, that's one of the things that I've always thought, that when people move to an area to better there's always trying to understand your yard.
Right.
Go seek out the public garden in your area.
Right.
And that's where you can start learning, what should I be doing? What plants grow in this area? If someone moves here from New York, we
ain't in the same zone.
No, we are not. I mean, my in-laws are up in upstate New York, and I love them to death. But every year when it's like, hey, should we go home for Christmas? I'm like, no.
He wants to come home, but he's too busy for work.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my story.
I want to see some plants. Let's go to the greenhouse.
Okay.
All right. Cool.
Sounds
so
good.
we'll show some of that video.
Bananas, elephant ears.
Okay. Now these things are, in my backyard, have become kudzu almost. It's crazy. They will pop up everywhere.
There are some that are definitely more aggressive than others.
But I mean, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, like the one that's next to it is called coffee cups, and it's really cool because when it rains, water fills it.
Right here?
This cupped one.
Right there?
Oh, right.
Okay.
But when it fills with rain, then it'll drop the water and pop back up. So it's
that's
kind of
cool.
fun. But a lot of this is what we're growing for our plant sale in the spring, and it's I'm trying to push, because it's like the more we grow, the more we can sell,
Right.
and the more that comes into the gardens.
Right.
This is our display, or the area that we actually have plant sales.
All right. Cool. All right.
And so that's like one of the things that I noticed, like if someone walks through a pocketbook, I've seen where they've dragged it and things have gotten pulled out. So I want all this going up in the greenhouses in the back.
Whoa! You got that on video too. Good. Great. Thanks. You did that on purpose.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah. Well, I know what our promo video is going to be now. Can you imagine that as an Instagram thing?
I was sitting there wondering if it was going to come on or not.
Yeah. Cool. Well, again, I can't thank you enough.
Well,
Let's head back to the studio and finish recording. All right. So, what the heck did you just show me?
Well, I mean, right now, all the orchids, they tend to really push a bloom at this time of year. But
They're beautiful. Yeah.
They are, and then everything else, you're kind of getting an insider's peek into our plant sales that come up.
Okay.
Because we propagate all those plants for our sales, so it's kind of, I'm pushing us to be able to offer things that you can't find in any garden center around here or any Lowe's or Home Depot. I want us to have unique things that.
So I want to say like 6 or 7 years ago, I was at the plant sale for the Master Gardeners plant sale, and literally Craig Monty said, "Buy that plant. It's only $5." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Just buy the plant, John." And so I picked the plant up, and I go, "What do I do now?" He goes, "Plant it in your yard. Put this, and it's a 12-foot tall star magnolia that I paid $5 for."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I move that if I move? It's too big now, right?
You can. I mean, it comes with a cost.
Yeah, it does come with a cost, right?
Yeah.
All right, so, a lot of times when we get to this point in the show, we start to ask questions about the futures and things like that. So I want to ask, what is the future of the gardens? Because as you said, and we kidded around a couple things now, I'm looking here and I'm seeing cranks and chains and things like that. The other thing, you kiddingly referred to this as the hot box, but it's not a hot box. It's really nice. But then you've encouraged me to come back.
Yeah.
So what's next for Reynolda Gardens?
We're in that process right now of really evaluating what our needs are. With education being such a key component of what we do, not only just the adult education, but we have a young naturalist camp for kids, but we don't have the facilities to really support that.
What's this, about 1,200 square feet? It's like 30 by 40?
Probably about that.
So 1,200 square feet, I mean, you've got, what do we got, rows of 5, there's
We can do about 50
people. Yeah, okay.
But, unfortunately.
It's going to be hot, though, or it's going to be stuffy.
Our education programming ends about May, and then we don't start back up until October. And this past October, we had a speaker.
Pass out, probably.
Well, 3 days beforehand, it was 95 degrees outside.
Right.
And we have a metal roof in here, so it was a little scary of going, what are we going to do? So that really, it's a limiting factor for us. We make, we're horticulturalists, we make do.
Right.
But it is something that we envision of trying to build a proper education building to, really grow our education program.
And because of the road between the two of us, you can't really use their building unless it's planned way in advance.
Yeah, I mean, we can use Reynolda House, or we could use the barn in the village, but
Right.
it's a scheduling,
Right.
juggle.
Yeah, I understand that. It's a beautiful facility. I mean, I don't know what you guys are going to do, because obviously you're not going to take this down. You would continue to use
This would get, if, once we have a proper building, this would be returned to greenhouse space.
Right, okay. So it's kind of looking like that area over there.
Mhm.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, hey, wow. I'm a
So-
planner, man. Did you know
Well,
that?
it's exciting to start thinking about the future, because, of course, once this can return to greenhouse space, we have a vision for this greenhouse of, greenhouses, I have about a 20-year cycle where you have to replace all the glass.
Right?
You have to reglaze the greenhouse, and that's coming up for us. And it's one of those things of going, this is going to be such a huge disruption for us,
Right?
that this is the time to really look and renovate this space. So looking at it from a sustainability standpoint
Right.
of, are our heating and cooling systems and everything else, are they really doing us the job that we really, want to be mindful of as stewards of, the environment? But it also gives us an opportunity to look at how we present this unique architectural piece of, should we be doing all of our nitty-gritty dirty work in this space, or can we add some greenhouses in the back to do that and turn this entirely into display, where every square inch of this greenhouse is just a amazing, vignette.
Right. Or could this be the shop, even, that
Yeah.
type of thing? Because you're going to have to put those plants over there somewhere else when you're reglazing, right?
Exactly.
And so this is,
It's
and I
it's
noticed
a domino thing.
I noticed you got the tag hanging up there. That's,
Yeah.
I have to get a picture of that. That's pretty funny.
And it's amazing when you look, the few conservatories that are left, you're looking at the U.S. Botanic Garden.
Right?
You're looking at Sonnenberg up in New York. You're looking at Phipps in Pittsburgh. So
Okay.
there's about 12 greenhouses left, and we're one of them.
Yep. We'll definitely get a picture of that. Maybe we can work that in to somewhere in the video to see what you're talking about there with the Lord and Burnham. Okay. But again, this is only a part of your entire domain.
Yeah.
So we were talking about trails and stuff, and where of course I saved everyone's life with the biting off of the
Yeah,
snake
yeah.
head. But so a lot of people travel those. So what do you do there?
So the trails, especially with the weather events that we've been having of these deluge that happen on a regular basis. Yeah, it's an SAT word.
Yeah. No, I
large rain
understood
events,
deluge,
okay.
but I mean, it's been raining. I didn't even notice.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
It's very frustrating because we have a major drainage project that we're waiting for it to dry out so we can fix the drainage. But looking at the trails of just upgrading them, there's a lot of erosion, and so we've got to look at getting those trails up to a better standard, because they're used by local high schools for their running. Wake Forest uses them. The public uses them.
Well, Mistletoe comes through this area. The Mistletoe run does. I don't think it goes
don't
on the
think they go
trail.
on the trail,
No, but it comes, still. But I mean, there's a lot of traversing.
There we go.
You're
Good.
proud of that
Good
one.
job. Yeah.
So the future of the gardens is
It's
all of
bright.
these upgrades.
There's,
Yeah.
I mean, while we have a lot of hurdles, I'm extremely optimistic. I've told you, I've never been as professionally charged up about a place of the opportunities that, it's one of those things, and when you have challenges, those present opportunities.
Well, as we come to a close, I've got three things I want to talk to you about, and I think I'm going to start off with the one, and that is, why do you spell your name incorrectly?
It's not pronounced Shahan. There's no H in how you pronounce it.
But God wrote a whole book in the Bible on how to spell my name.
Well, I'm not going to argue religion.
But no, I mean, we kidded about that. I had to get the brevity in there for one time, but it
Yeah.
is funny because when I'll ask you this: isn't it interesting how people just write it the wrong way, and it does bug the out of you if you're a Jon or a John.
Well, when you have a last name like Roethling, the John is not.
It's not the problem.
That's
Yeah.
not usually
Well,
the
they
problem.
don't do the E is what they probably don't
Yeah.
do in your name, and then they add an A to my last name. So yeah, okay. So back to the show, but I had to get that in there. What do you love about this? Because I mean, you are literally, from across across the river there in that Greensboro area. And you got to go over Salem Lake to get to you.
I love that we came back to this area, for my wife and I to both find gardens to be at, and you know, usually you've got to go out to Philadelphia to find that many opportunities in terms of, you know, advancing yourself in horticulture, but to have two positions that we love this close to each other, and I grew up in the Triad.
Yeah.
I've always loved the Triad.
It's fate. I mean, there's no way that could have ever happened.
Fate or divine intervention or something.
I'll go with
but
that one, too.
I love being in this area. There's something about this area that it always struck me, living in Raleigh for a long time, that this area felt more accessible to more people.
Right.
That, you know, while, yeah, Raleigh has the symphony, it always felt like you had everything that you could want in a bigger city here, but it's easier to access it.
Don't you think the Tanger Center is going to completely change that, you know, with it over in Greensboro? I mean, you know, because it was always you had to go to Durham to go to some of the performing art things.
I think it's wonderful. We do the Brian Lecture Series, you know, and so I think Sally Field will be the first speaker there. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It just brings another dimension here, and that's been one of the things that's for me. You know, we used to come here for the trade show, the North Carolina Nurseryman Trade Show that used to be in Winston.
Right.
And I remember towards the tail end of that was when, you know, a lot of the tobacco die-off was happening.
Right.
And to see how Winston-Salem has transformed itself is just amazing. I mean, it's a different city, and it's amazing what it's become.
And you found out the essence of why I do this show now, just in that statement right there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the guests, I mean, you know, you have Jeff Smith, Smitty, who's going around and he's, you know, starts up just emailing his friends what's going on one weekend. You got Lou Baldwin, you got Jeff McIntosh, you got the mayor, you know, now we got Algernon Cash is going to be on, was on, I guess, a week or two ago. And I mean, I'm wanting those people that have vested interests that can share a story on the show.
And I think, you know, that's one of the things, you know, going back to Reynolda, I describe it to people of when you look at New York City and what Central Park is to New York City.
Right.
That's what we are to Winston-Salem.
Absolutely.
It's a place for people, especially, you know, as development happens and we start losing more natural spaces, this is a space that's preserved. You know, we tell students that at Wake Forest that when you're stressed about exams, go walk the trails. I guarantee you will calm down.
Lay out in the grass out there. Listen to the sounds of a little kid running through the backyard. I mean, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So the last question, where do you want Winston to go?
I think just embracing what it's becoming of looking at all these new opportunities. You know, you go downtown and see how it's taken its history and it's brought it and made it relevant to today. I think that's the same parallel we've got here of taking a historic garden, but we want it to be, you know, to appeal to people that are dealing with new things today. I think Winston's moving in that direction, and I think also acknowledging that, you know, we want to be as inclusive as we can be. And I think that's happening in many different ways. I mean, that from a garden standpoint, I want to make sure that we diversify our audience.
Right.
Of reaching
Make it
out.
accessible.
Yes,
Yeah.
because, I mean, that's what Catherine wanted. That's why she put this garden right on Reynolda Road, is to make it available to the people of Winston-Salem and beyond.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate
Yeah.
this, man. Thanks. Folks, you've just seen another episode of Camel City Chat. We certainly appreciate your time. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and also send us a note and tell us if you've got some interesting guests you want us to have. Jon Roethling, of course, is the director here at Reynolda Gardens, and I can't say anything but thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And I forgot...